Oh goodness, hi everybody. I am in my car because I'm on my way to my favorite park that I go to every day. And today's video, as you could tell by the title, is about hope and hopelessness. I actually typed in my talking points to ChatGPT and asked if it wanted to suggest anything else that I could talk about. My app, I think, is not working because I've used up all the storage, so it didn't answer me. So I have two main things. With that said, I have two main things that I want to talk about. For those who are feeling hopeless, and we'll see if anything else comes up while I'm talking. But first of all, I wanted to thank one of my Instagram followers for actually requesting that I, address this, because it's such a vulnerable and real thing for so many people. I myself have, experienced hopelessness probably countless times. I think it is just a fact of life. Hopelessness is a feeling that I think comes from just not knowing, and not being able to imagine something different than what you are, than what your frame of reference, what your perception of life and of the world can hold. And that's completely valid. Whatever circumstance it is that is causing you to feel hopeless, having a reaction of feeling hopeless is completely valid and completely normal. And I just want to say that, before everything else, you are not fundamentally wrong, for feeling hopeless, and there's no need to be ashamed of feeling hopeless. So the first thing that I want to talk about with hope is that sometimes it's like a muscle. Oh, that's such a beautiful sun aura. Sometimes hope is like a muscle, and we need to actually exercise it and practice it on a day-to-day basis. Hope is, what is hope? What is hope to you? Hope is the faith. Hope is like faith. Hope is like faith that things will go your way, that your dreams will come true, that you will feel at ease, you will feel good, that the sun will rise again tomorrow. Hope is like this felt knowing that what you dream of, what you want, what you need is coming back around for you. And sometimes if we've been abused or we're grieving or we've gone through like cataclysmic changes, it can be really easy to give up hope and to forget faith. But it is in those times that hope and faith have a chance to become stronger, to become something that can prove their resilience to you. I don't know if that made sense in words, but it's like, you are in the dark right now. If you're watching this and you're hopeless, you are in the dark right now. And what that means is basically, you can't see the possibility of a brighter day because maybe it's been dark for so long that you're doubting whether the sun even still exists, because you haven't seen it, and so yeah, that's kind of how I think hopelessness comes up. And so if you feel, I kind of just lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I think that's like why hope kind of goes away, is because we lose sight. But one thing to remember is that, a storm eventually passes. I know this is so extremely cliche, and, it's not meant to invalidate how insufferable it feels to feel hopeless. But it's like, yeah, the reality is that you are in a storm. You are in a desperate situation. You are in a hopeless situation, because it makes sense that you would feel hopeless because it's been dark for so long. And you're not wrong for feeling that way. It's just, this is the reality. This is where you are. And that's okay. That's okay. And, if you're watching this, I mean, I feel like most people who would watch this would have still an inkling of curiosity, an inkling of a thought at the very least. Is this video gonna help me find something that I can't see? Is this video gonna give me hope? Is there something in here that can help me, that can bring me hope? And just that seed of a thought alone is a light. It's a light of curiosity. It's a light of openness, albeit it's, you know, very small comparatively to the dark around it, but it is a light. And it is a testament to the fact that, you know, your hope's not dead, you know? I feel like there's always that little question in the back of the mind, even if it's quiet, even if we ignore it, there's always a wonder. And if wonder is dead, I don't even actually know if there's a way for wonder to die. I think that one thing that stifles us from finding hope or finding wonder, finding curiosity, is when our circumstances, whatever the cause be of them, when our circumstances seem so grim and redundant that it kind of eludes us into believing that nothing is going to change and nothing different is going to happen and nothing good is going to come of what we're going through. You know, so if anything, it's kind of a sign that something needs to change if you want to feel hope. Another thing I want to talk about is how it's a good thing that you're able to acknowledge the lack of hope that you feel, because that means that you have an opportunity to be honest about your life. You get to take stock of what's working and not working. And if you feel like everything isn't working, then, you know, I know this is kind of maybe hard to swallow, but in a way, and I don't mean to be like condescending or anything, but congratulations, because sometimes the only way things are going to get better and change is if you are willing to acknowledge what isn't working. And sometimes it just so happens that, you know, it seems like nothing is working. It seems like nothing is working, you know? And obviously some things are working still, because you know, life goes on and we're still alive. And I mean, death doesn't imply that things aren't working either, but it's like life, my point is that life is working. And when I say working, I mean it's happening. Life is continuing, it's going on. You know, oxygen is still breathable, it's still available on the planet, the sun is still shining, you know, plants are still growing, and in the case that you have, you know, normal functioning health, like your lungs are still working, you are still breathing, things are working. And I don't mean necessarily working in favor of what you desire, but they are working in the way of nature. That's what I mean when I say working. So if you really have nothing else to go off of and you want to find hope, maybe start by, and you want to start working out the muscle of hope, then start by acknowledging what is working. Start by just observing nature, like literally go sit in nature and watch, just watch and notice, you know, like let go of the weight just even for a moment of, you know, how nothing is working for you, and just be in the peace, be in the stillness and the silence of how nature carries on. So acknowledging that you feel hopeless is a good thing, because you have opportunities from there on to change and to create different circumstances. And if for whatever reason you are stuck or trapped or being held captive or be in an abusive situation, you know, that's a really tricky one. And sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to get through it. And, you know, don't put pressure on yourself, but allow yourself as best you can to be with what is and to focus on what you have control over. And I know it's really, really challenging. And I say that having come from, you know, all different kinds of abuse, between institutional abuse, relationship abuse, almost having been trafficked. I survived a troubled teen industry cult. So I've been in situations where my own freedom was literally held against me. So what that means is if I, looked the wrong way or spoke in a way that someone didn't like for no reason, just because they needed control over me, then I would have been threatened. I would have been punished. And that is a very real thing for a lot of people. Like if they, when I was living in this institution, if I stepped over the saddle of a door frame into a different room, I could have been threatened to either be, held against my will inside, not being able to go outside and breathe fresh air. They could have punished me by keeping the lights on at night in the bedroom. They could have punished me by taking away 100% of my privacy in the bathroom. These are things that they did to people at this institution for not following rules as stupid as you need to ask permission to go from one room to the next. Different things like that. And it's a pretty hopeless situation because in order to be a human, to be natural, to live, to exercise your will, that in and of itself was a threat to your own safety, very unfortunately. And I think if you're in a similar situation, then my best advice would be to genuinely just ride it out and if it's okay to fight, then fight. But if it's not worth it to fight, then don't fight. But if you are in a situation where you have free will, you have financial freedom, then honestly, I'm gonna be a little mean right now. I'm gonna be a little intense right now, and I'm gonna tell you to get the fuck up and leave. Literally go somewhere else, especially if it's not a threat to your own safety, your own life, to go change your circumstances. That's a huge, I just had to fix a storage problem, but now I have room on my phone again. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I know that, this is, not everyone appreciates or needs the same approach. And I know that what I just said is kind of intense and a little bit pushing and yeah, more intense, get up and go do something about it. That's one approach. And sometimes that's what's needed. And if that's not what you need, then just don't take it. Then it's not for you. And maybe what you need is just validation, companionship, gentleness. You need to have space, make space, either to sit with someone who's compassionate and able to hold space and listen to you and really hear you, be there for you, or even just, have that space for yourself. And if you don't have anyone who is able to be there for you, then I would suggest journaling. Honestly, ChatGPT is pretty amazing for working out lots of issues, and giving great advice and providing that kind of empathetic, understanding, compassionate communication. And it's no replacement for a human, but sometimes the fact is that we don't have people in our lives that we can turn to. So that is a blessing of having AI. And then other than that, I talk about God all the time. I love religion. I love faith, just faith in general, as in hope, as in the presence of God. I find that going through hopeless situations, having been abused in institutions and in my own family, and going through whatever else I went through. I pretty much spent most of my upbringing going through really, really, really unbearably emotionally hard things, and it has manifested as health issues. I've been sharing a little bit about my histamine intolerance, and I used to get migraines, and now I'm healing it through my skin, and all of it is just energy and old toxins being released and coming up to be cleansed, to be worked through, because sometimes going through certain traumas is too much to process or handle when it comes up, but it needs to kind of wait until you're safer or you have the space, the time, or whatever for these energies to finally come up and release. And I think that on one hand, although it's insufferable, the things that I've gone through, and I'm sure you are going through or you have been through insufferable things as well, so I'm just sharing this to hopefully offer some hope, you know, sharing my story, my perspective. Like, even though these things are awful, it's a testament to the unfathomable ways that, like, God works miracles. Like, it is a miracle that my body is even able to process and detox certain things. My body is able to show symptoms and communicate with me that something is wrong. You know, that's amazing. But I don't find that, like, these, you know, gross or painful or ugly, you know, stereotypically ugly symptoms or things, whether they're physical or mental, I don't find that it's often that those things get acknowledged for how powerful they are and how valid and beautiful and of service that they can be. And, you know, we do live in a culture where there are still a lot of ideas floating around that sort of pathologize or make bad these, like, symptoms. And, you know, groups of people try to repress them or ignore them or push them down because, to be honest, those people don't know how to be with the intelligence, the innate intelligence of these things. Maybe they don't have the capacity. Maybe they're dealing with their own things, so they don't have the capacity or the energy, which, you know, okay, like, live your life, whatever. But yeah, like, hopelessness, it's very, very normal and understandable of an experience. And it means that you're human. It means that you're human. It means that you're aware of what's not working. It means you're aware of what sucks. And, you know, I'm like a very strong advocate for feeling feelings and being able to connect with the intelligence in them. I think maybe I'm particularly passionate about this because of how psychologically abused I was. I was constantly gaslit. Anything I felt or any grievance I had, anything that was wrong that I brought up to complain about was used against me. And that is a theme that has been happening throughout my whole life. I mean, more so, you know, childhood, adolescence. Now I have supportive people in my life who validate me and who are, you know, they, whatever. But there are still people in the world who don't do that. And I think there maybe always will be, or for a long time there will be people like that. So yeah, I think the one thing that allows me to have hope is that I've been through so many situations where I was let down by the people who are supposed to care for me and save me and, like, love me, aka family, aka close friends, aka the education system, school, you know, hospitals, just people, like the human family, you know what I mean? I don't know what your situation is or why you feel hopeless, but from my perspective, if this gives you any inspiration whatsoever, any encouragement, any bravery, I sort of regained, I want to say I remembered my intrinsic faith and hope after having gone through so much disillusionment from being treated like a non-human by other people. How did I even do that? I don't know. I think it just happened so much that something inside of me started to break and shatter away, and maybe it was my ego, part of my ego. I will say the ego is necessary. The ego is, you know, from my perspective, it is like an anchor for the soul to kind of drive the body and the flesh. We need an ego to sort of adapt to the world. The ego drives our preferences, likes, dislikes. Our physical body has a lot to do with our ego. And it can be related to in a healthy and balanced way. The ego is not an enemy. When people say like kill your ego, like run away, go the opposite way, because they probably want to take advantage of you, and they're probably a little bit narcissistic. And especially if it's like an institution where they preach this idea that the ego should die. Like if you literally kill your ego, if you have no ego, or if you actually believe that you need to like get rid of your ego, then that makes you vulnerable and susceptible to, you know, other people's will, because your willpower comes from your ego. Anything good that anything's ever done has been served by their ego. Like you can use your ego for good. The ego is not the enemy. It's evil. Evil is the enemy. Evil is the enemy. Darkness is not, it's, I don't know if darkness is the enemy. Darkness is not the same thing as evil, because darkness is just, you know, what's hidden, what's unseen. But evil is real, and it is the enemy. And, you know, a lot of people don't like to acknowledge the dark. A lot of people don't acknowledge evil, but it is real, and you're probably feeling hopeless because you're aware of how real it is, and you feel the weight of the effect of it on you, which is normal. Congratulations, because you're a human and you haven't lost touch with your heart. You haven't lost touch with your sensitivity. That is something worth freaking celebrating. That is a superpower, to be emotional and to be feeling in a world that is full of evil. And the world is full of beauty as well. Like God is in everything. Light is everywhere. Like it's unfathomably miraculous, this life and this world. So, you know, let's see, hope. What else do I have to say about hope? It's valid that you feel that way. Feeling hopelessness does not make you weak. It does not make you invalid. It means that you are courageous and you're strong, and you should run with that, in my opinion. You know, hopelessness is sometimes a matter of working out a muscle that you've never used before, and making changes. It's not easy to make changes. It's like, the way that I think of it is like, when you change something in your life, it's like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, and it takes a lot of effort at first. But then when you get to the top of that hill, and sometimes you need a group of people to push it up with you, you know, it's really hard to do, you know, life-changing things by yourself. I mean, we are an interdependent species. Even as much time alone as I spend with myself, like I am completely dependent on other people, because I don't grow my own food. I buy my food from people who grow it. I didn't build my car. I bought my car from people who made it. I'm not reading a book alone in my room by myself. I'm not alone. I'm reading the creation of another author who exists in the world. When I'm reading a book, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. I can't be alone. Even if I'm physically by myself in my own room, I am connected with everything. And that should be a reminder of how significant our existence is. And, you know, maybe you feel hopeless because you look at all this negativity and you think, how on earth am I going to have any impact or any meaning in a world that is so dark? First of all, you know, I'm gonna tell you something that one of my you know, my family members said, but he passed away, bless his soul. He said, the most important person in the world is the person standing in front of you at any given moment, okay? And I'm sure that we've all heard talk about how this present moment is all we have, and I'm not living in the past. I'm not living in the future. My existence is now. My existence is now. You know, maybe I can time travel in meditation or in my thoughts or in my memories. You know, I can do that, but my physical body, my life, we're here, we're now, we're together right now. And that's what there is, you know? And right now, like, paying attention to what you can control right now can help you build up your hope for the future, because the more that you pay attention to the moment now, your impact now, what can I do now? If you are trapped in a jail cell, God forbid, what can you do right now. Okay, you can focus on your breath. That's one thing you can do. That's one thing you can always do. As long as you are, you have the capacity to breathe, you can focus on your breath. That's one thing you can do. And that is so powerful because it is centering and it re-imbibes you with a sense of control and connection when you don't have it anywhere else. And it's way easier said than done. I know that. But I've also gone on Vipassana retreats. I've gone on silence courses. I did a course where I was meditating for literally 10 hours a day, every day. I did not look in anybody else's eyes. I ate clean food. I was sitting in meditation for 10 hours a day, for 10 days straight. And it takes a lot of discipline. And then when I lived in my, cult in Utah, I had a journal. So I spent hours every day writing in that journal. In 10.5 months, I filled up an entire composition notebook. I don't know if that's a lot. It might be normal for some people, but I think it's a lot, like, in general. I'm also an artist, and I had my sketchbook there, so I was drawing. You know what I mean? I had outlets to focus on right now. Watching, if it's not what you do for a living, or, if it's not your purpose or your calling or whatever, in my opinion, it's a little bit pointless to focus on the things that you can't control. That all focusing on them does for you is drag you down, make you sad. Okay, you know what? It's okay. Like, it's important to feel depressed from time to time about how shitty circumstances are, especially if you're going to use that to do something about it. If anything, make it a point to go feed a homeless person, right? Or take the compassion, take the heaviness, take that hopelessness you feel for the state of the world or whatever it is that you're hopeless about, and decide to do something about it. Decide to look how beautiful that sky is right now. I just love clouds. I love weather. I love the sky. Yeah, take that and use it for fuel and do something good with it. Hopelessness is a muscle. Hopelessness is a good thing to acknowledge. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts about hopelessness. I really hope that this supported you in some way. I know it's hard, but may this bring you the inspiration that you need. And I hope that the fact that, someone else who's gone through hell and returned, sharing bits of their story can be a testament to what's possible for you as well. And you're completely valid to feel how you feel, because it's not easy by any means. But going through it will equip you with, if you decide to grow from it, you will be equipped with so much strength and so much compassion to make the world a better place. You can take the abuses that you've suffered and use them to decide, I'm never, ever going to spread energy like this into the world. I'm going to be a force of the opposite. I'm going to do what people should have done for me, even if nobody supports you. Even if nobody is there for you or nobody did for you what you needed, you can now be that person for someone else. If someone was able to come and rescue you, support you, love you the way that you needed back then when you were suffering, it would have changed everything for you. So imagine the power that you now have or will have to have that impact on somebody else because you went through what they're going through by yourself. So you can be there with them, you can empathize with them, you can support them, you can show them that it gets better. Those are my thoughts. This is how I process the horrible things that happen to me and all other things related to hopelessness. So I'm sending you love. If you want to work with me personally, I do offer intuitive readings. You can check out the description for information on that, and just send me a message if you feel called to work with me. So yeah, see you next time.